My wife, 46, and I, 49, have been together 30 years and married for 16. In fact, tomorrow is our 16-year wedding anniversary, which we never really celebrate anyway. Our first date is the big day we honor our relationship. I caught her having an emotional affair with a guy from her past that she never dated, but shared a deep connection with 20-ish years ago. Bear with me, this will be long as I cover all the bases and get this all off my chest and try not to miss any important details. I am absolutely shattered and have no one really to talk to about this or want to admit this in my personal life. Welcome to my journal. Welcome me to my nightmare. The antecedents. I am a man who owns his shit. I am a counselor by profession, and by nature, I am a very self-reflective and introspective person. I work with extremely at-risk youth and their families, and part of my daily practice is to reflect on my commute home to unpack and be ready and present for my family. I am the father of 3 daughters, one we had quite early and is grown and building her own life. The other 2 are not teens yet and stays with us at home. I know my role in what ultimately led to my wife's emotional affair. Though she chose to cheat, in a marriage, nothing exists in a bubble to its own. I suffer with mild depression that is almost fully manageable without the use of antidepressants. In 2001, when I was initially diagnosed and had hit near rock bottom, I got help, got medicated, and found what works for me to manage what would be a lifelong mental illness. What works is diet, exercise, and my wife and I being aware of when I am getting low and addressing it. I was on antidepressants for a year, weaned off, and these strategies worked until May 2020. In May 2020, I hit the ultimate old man move of slipping in the shower to fall back and crack my head on the bathtub to usher in my 4th documented concussion. My first 3 were when I was young and could walk them off. Less so when you are pushing 50 and brain damage is cumulative. Unknown to us at the time, this shook my mental illness loose once more, and post-concussion symptoms masked the depression until we realized it around September 2020. I went back on meds. Our relationship struggled hard. While I am in the empathy business, my wife is not. She is what would be called type A personality. Direct, no nonsense, and to the point while she gets shit done. I asked one thing of her, knowing she could not be emotional support, and that was patience. I can manage it. I will wean off my meds and be back to my normal self in less than a year. But she needed to be patient and let me do it. It all came to a head in December 2020. Things had become so strained that I was sleeping in our guest room, and in the 2nd week of the month, we both caught COVID. We were lucky on the pandemic side of things, as this was original COVID, pre-vaccine, and the first 3 days were like the worst flu imaginable, but the rest was just aches and fatigue. Mid-COVID, she spat out in an argument, should we divorce? This had been her go-to in a fight, and I had heard it 1,000 times and never took the bait because I could not conceive a life without her, the love of my life and mother to my girls. In December of 2020, I am ashamed to admit, I said, maybe we should, for the first time in our long partnership. She was stunned. She left the room and cried while I was left with questions and guilt. Why would I be guilty? In November to December of 2020, I came very close to having an emotional affair of my own. When I go into the hole of depression, I withdraw like a wounded animal into my den and lick my wounds, not into a bottle or drugs or gambling or the bed of another woman. I lose myself in gaming, particularly virtual fantasy role-playing worlds. I use this community and the storytelling to escape and recover. I did it back in 2001 with EverQuest, and I did the same in 2020 with another similar game. I am flirty by nature, in person and in a game. Both my wife and I are in fantastic shape for olds, and neither of us would be single for long if we were available. Most of my friends in game, in life, and in my line of work are women, so I have always been very comfortable with them. My wife, older sister, and mother are both strong, fierce, and independent role models. I flirted with women I met while online gaming. I got to know them outside of the game. I made friendships, some of which I am still close friends with, even now. Even though pictures were exchanged, apart from one drunken night, a friend sent her breast pics she had for her long-distance boyfriend. This was shut down instantly. We're all just innocent pics you would see on my Instagram anyhow. I always made it clear that I am happily married, not interested in drama, and definitely not interested in anything apart from what our stupid fantasy characters are doing in a video game. My wife had been snooping on my Discord without my knowing and saw the flirting, which she was mostly okay with, but she saw the topless pics my friend sent. Hellfire rained down. I felt like shit and felt a fool. She saw the context, and she saw my reaction, which amounted to, nice tits, but whoa, let's not, okay? My life was a living hell from that point on. I was the shit. I was wrong. I swore up and down I would never cheat, and I was not invested in anyone but her. She saw all my Discord conversations and would know this, but she ground me down when I was at my lowest and recovering from depression. I don't think she ever forgave me or trusted me after this. But this is my part. I own this. I refuse to use mental illness to excuse what amounted to me not being present and engaged or escaping into a fantasy world again. I never cheated, and she knows this. Could I have? Sure, I am far from perfect, but infidelity ruined my parents' marriage, and that was my number one. With a bullet line in the sand, I would not cross, but who knows? I think if things had continued to regress, and if the women I was chatting with weren't on the other side of the continent, speculation, now for facts. The beginning of the affair. We did all the right things. We decided to stay married and work it out. Therapy, bearing our souls, and Friday night drinks on our deck. By August 2021, I was cycled off my antidepressants and feeling like my old self again. I was hitting the gym hard again and finding joy in things I hadn't touched in a very long time. She tried, but she still didn't trust me. I am certain she looked into my Discord again, but there was nothing for her to see. I realized that even mild flirting was not okay for her, so I stopped. I gamed less and less and made more time for the family. I moved into a new role at work and life was good. By January 2022, I felt we were in the best place we had been in for years. Sure, we still fought at times, but we always have, and apart from the hard times in 2020, we have never gone to bed mad at each other. I was the only one that felt this way, it turns out. In April 2022, we were having a chat, and she mentioned she had reconnected with a friend from the past. We live in a big city, and she grew up in a smaller town an hour north of us and has many friendships in town still. This has always been her getaway place. Not to say I have not been welcomed by her friends, I have, but that has always been a place she goes when she needs a weekend away from the kids and husband. This man, it turns out, is from her hometown and found her on good old Facebook, the great unifier. As I said prior, my wife and I are in great shape, and time has thus far been very kind to our looks, and we take care of ourselves. At least a half dozen times a year, she gets men from ancient friend groups, parties from yesteryear or previous jobs reach out to her, and hey, what's up her? It's like there is a script. Hey, I found you, leads to, I am recently single, leads to, how's your marriage, leads to her saying, things are great, then they vanish, every time, but this time. This man, we will call X from now on, no longer lives in the small town she is from, but over 2,000 kilometers north of us. X comes in hard like they all do, and she gives her usual rebuttal. He backs off a little, shakes it off, and is pretty flirty, but asks if it is okay if he flirts with her. She replies with a very long message on boundaries and everything. I would hope she would respond to a man coming at her, but with one small twist at the end. A new wrinkle. She ends the message with, I am in a mostly happy marriage. That's toe in the door. That hint of maybe. She even says it is maybe okay with him flirting, which really, if she is just flirting, I don't care. I am a pretty confident guy and flirting is harmless. Right, she approaches me that day and mentions this guy. She gives me all the details, but she leaves out the bit where she refers to our marriage as mostly okay because, as I said, I thought we were in a great place. She asks if I am okay with X flirting with her, and I say go for it. It feels good to flirt and to be flirted with. She is relieved and happy, and so am I. So, for the next few months, until almost July 2022, her and X talk regularly, and she even shares a bit of their conversations. All is well. She has an online friend, and has even said now that she overreacted to my flirting now that she sees how harmless it is. I even joke with her and ask how her boyfriend is to tease her, and she rolls her eyes and shouts at me. See how good I am at ignoring those red flags. Color blindness is real, folks. If not by pure dumb luck, who knows where I'd be right now. The accidental reveal, or always trust your spider sense. June 29th, 2022. I am waiting for the bus to go home from the gym, and as adults do, I am texting my wife back and forth about all the exciting nightly details. What's for dinner? What are the plans tonight? Can you walk the dog? This is a Wednesday, and Friday she has plans to go with the kids for the weekend to her hometown to hang with one of her best friends and her friend's family. We are texting rapid fire back and forth, and she mentions the trip. I respond with a joking rib at her. Is your boyfriend coming into town this weekend? Silence. Phone, radio, silence. For 10 full minutes, she is silent as the grave. We had been bantering nonstop for a while, and the line goes dead. I can see she has read my text. Nothing. My heart is pounding in my ears, and I feel a knot in my gut. Spidey sense is not tingling, it is blaring. This is not like her at all. She finally responds back with, not this weekend, maybe later in the summer, and he isn't my boyfriend. It feels off, wrong. I have been partnered with her for 30 years. I know her better than she knows herself, and vice versa. I caution myself, calm down, it's nothing. This guy is a year older and out of shape and gray. I am overreacting. Breathe, focus, but I can't. It sits like a black cloud in my head. I stow it, and all night she knows something is up. I tell her it's nothing. It was the last day of school with students. I work in a high school and have summers off, so I say it was a busy, stressful day. I know something is up. I know it, but I keep trying to ignore my gut. When she goes to walk the dog, I know I will have at least 30 minutes to look at her Facebook. I feel like shit as I stand in front of her laptop. I felt incredibly violated when she creeped into my Discord and read everything I had there. I hesitate. I try to be the better man. I try to follow the golden rule. I fail. She doesn't log or sign out of Facebook ever on her laptop. No two-factor authentication. It's wide open for me to be into the messenger conversation she had been carrying on with X since April. I see the initial message, and it fits what she told me. I see that she refers to our marriage as mostly happy. I wince. Okay, that is rough. I see after she posts that, he replies, and nothing for the rest of that evening. This is when she came to me to ask permission to flirt. The message she responds with the next morning when I am at work is what broke my heart. At once, I was justified at snooping and had what I thought was a happy marriage that was on the rocks a few years, and on the mend was not what she saw. She writes in what can only be described as a love letter the next morning after I had given her permission to flirt, and she had taken a night to sleep and reflect. While they grew up in the same small town, they were not friends, as he would be 4 years older than her. But small towns are small, and in adulthood, their friend groups intersected, and when she would go up for getaways, there would be a chance he would be out for drinks or a house party as well. One of these nights was around 20 years ago. We had a 6-year-old daughter. We were not married, but had been together 10 years. This would have been shortly after I crawled out of my first fight with depression and had weaned away from antidepressants, and our life was good again. So, I thought, see a pattern. She met him at a group together of some kind, party, bar, it doesn't matter much. They spent the entire evening together talking. They have a lot of common interests-wise and background-wise. They connected deeply. She had told him she was single recently, a lie. She says she knows she was not the only one who felt something physical. She says she felt weak in the knees. She says her heart was fluttering. She said if she didn't have to leave early, she isn't sure where it would have gone. Likely our daughter was up with her and staying with her folks in town. She says she regrets not knowing how her life might have turned out differently if she didn't have to leave him that night. A real fucking Cinderella story. I couldn't read more after that. I went into a visceral rage and hit the wall a few times until I cooled off. I closed the window and shut her laptop. I was broken and my heart was shredded to bits. I could barely meet her eyes when she came home from walking our dog. I made it through the night. I had one more day of work, which would just be staff and meetings anyhow. I drifted through the day, and when I got home, I told her we needed to talk. The truth in irregular forced installments. No one knows me better than her. No one. When I got home, she knew something was up. I wanted to see where she would go with this. I did not admit to looking at her Facebook, but approached it from the text she sent. She instantly went on the defensive. This is beyond uncharacteristic for her, and it led to more and more probing and talking, while I remained calm the entire time. She was caught off guard, and as the conversation progressed, more and more lies were revealed. It led to more and more details. She begrudgingly gave me permission to read her Facebook. I won't go into full prose of these things, so here are the highlights. Said it was just flirting harmlessly. Complete lie. It was eventually revealed they were sexting, she was playing with herself and getting off on it, and he was writing her erotica about her and him. Said they had not spoken on the phone. Lie. Eventually revealed that they spoke once on the phone, which truly I could give a damn about at this point, compared to the rest. Said their conversations were only ever on Facebook Messenger. Huge lie. She on 3 occasions in Messenger is almost begging him to go to a more secure platform. They moved the conversations to WhatsApp and set their messages to auto-delete. As an extra factor after every conversation, she archives him. If by chance I picked up her phone and saw WhatsApp, I would not see their conversation header. Said she had not sent pics. Lie. Eventually admitted one pic showed her tits, but her hands were covering her nipples. I don't believe her, but cannot ever know if this is true or not. Said they had no plans to meet in person. 99% sure this a lie. A few weeks after this blew up, she, in the purpose of building trust, told me he came into town that weekend and stayed at her close mutual friend's home, where she stays when she is in town. He arrived alone and was joined by his kids and wife 2 full days later. I told her that sounds like opportunity and a plan to meet. Even though she broke off contact with him and unfriended him on all social media, it would have been too late and too costly for him to change his travel plans, and likely went through with the trip regardless. I am certain that if I hadn't found out about this affair, she would have had a reason to go to her hometown that weekend to get away from the stress of work or whatever and meet him. Said they had never been physical ever. True, I believe her. If she had kissed, danced, had sex, or done anything with him that night 20 years ago, he absolutely would have mentioned it in their Facebook chats. He goes into great deal about what ifs, and he for sure would have mentioned, I still don't forget the time we. Said that she didn't delete the WhatsApp conversations when she was found out. Lie. When I asked to see WhatsApp, as Facebook conversations peter out around early May, since they moved over to a secure platform, she went white and panicked. She refused. I gave her an ultimatum. You let me have access to that chat or I file for a divorce. Choose his privacy and your pride, or choose me. She was not sure which way to go. I went to walk the dog, and when I came back, she said you can look, but there is nothing there and it's all deleted. I was livid and knew she had deleted it all while I was out, and claims auto-delete. I asked her to message him casually to send the conversations to her. He had no idea I knew what was up at this point, but he said the same. He had them auto-delete for fear of his wife seeing them, but said he'd be happy to write her more erotic stories of them. Said she is not in love with him. True, once that I saw, he says, I love you to her, and she responds with a sarcastic, whoa, and he backpedals and says he loves her smile, her hair, her brain, you name it. I believe she loved the attention, and she loved the affair, but it wasn't love for her. The aftermath. Well, Reddit, that's my tale. For her part, she has lied continually throughout, and I will never, ever know what was in the WhatsApp chats. Recovery failed. She has at least 100% owned her part. She has not deflected. She has not pointed fingers. She loves me and wants this to work out. She is in therapy, and so am I. I read Esther Perel's State of Affairs. We will be going back to our marriage counselor next week. I have been honest with her. I will always love her, and I have forgiven her, but I don't know if I will ever trust her again. I have told her if I cannot trust her, I cannot be married to her. We are going to see this through, but if you asked me today where it is going, I have no idea. I want it to work, but I need to be true to me. I was always the guy who said, if you cheat, we're over, but that guy was never cheated on. This is complex, and this is hard. I am heartbroken and in a haze. We are civil, even intimate. But I am not giving her false hope. We will be co-parents forever, so scorched earth is not a possibility. I've probably left things out, and thank you for reading if you made this far through my crap. I'm getting better every day, but every day is a new challenge, and we will see where this all goes. Take care of yourselves and be good to yourself.